I now call upon Dr. Rajesh Reddy, who is the investigator and founder of Project Serotonin USA, and he will speak to us about how precision interventions can significantly improve outcomes in preventive health and longevity. Rajesh Reddy, please.
Okay, while this is coming up, I think you all had a heavy lunch and preceded by a heavy dose of medicine 4.0 and a lot of information there. So we'll try and keep this session to just pragmatic, like results and learnings that we've had over the last 10 years. We'll try and summarize that in the next 20 minutes. Before I do that, firstly, I think I want to thank the team, Professor Saini, Suramya, for the amazing work the RISE team has been doing. When we've been part of this journey from when you started, but every session is getting better and better, and we're super proud of how you're putting longevity, Bangalore on the longevity map globally. Thank you for doing this. We had a session yesterday for doctors, and we had a pretty packed session. I think it was in Hall B. We had 90 seats, and it was like overflowing. Just want to check how many of folks from yesterday's session are here in this room. Just raise of hands. Okay, that's quite a few. I'll try and see if we can share some new data today. I'm coming off another conference to this one, and that conference is called HIMSS in Las Vegas. It's, for those of you who don't know about HIMSS, it's one of the largest health tech conferences in the world. And we have some of the biggest healthcare companies in the US, all the big names. You have Cleveland Clinic, you have Mayo Clinic, you have UCSF, you have New York Health and Hospitals, and all the large providers there. And I had the opportunity to host a roundtable of some of the CXOs of these biggest healthcare companies. And the topic at the table was essentially something that is pretty close to what we are thinking about here. Number one, with all the amount of data we're getting from users, genetics, blood biomarkers, longitudinal data, wearable data, etc., how is the clinician or the doctor expected to understand, process, and use that data? What tools and technologies can help us do that? Secondly, what type of interventions using the latest in emerging science, which is fast changing, and new clinical studies, what are the best interventions you can use? What is the way we can do that with the rapid evolution of new evidence? And third, most importantly, how do we get people to adhere to any recommendation that you might come up with, however precise or excellent it might be? So those are the three problems that we've spent 10 years trying to figure out, and we'll try and share some of that with you today. First, before I do that, we have a hypothesis or a point of view, which is as follows. We think one of the most important elements of this is going to be software, to be able to look at this data, to be able to look at evidence, to be able to stratify it, process it, apply it to an individual, a unit of one, in an economical way, an efficient way, right? Two, equally or more importantly, users, because there's so many thoughts and ways and ideas, users will eventually choose platforms that they can adhere to and that can deliver better outcomes. So outcomes will be the basis of all of the future of how choices are going to be made in the industry, right? That is essentially the origin of the mission of Project Serotonin, is how do you get the best outcomes? We are a team of now 30 plus team members. Several of them are here in the audience, and we're obsessed about the outcomes. We spend all our energy over the last 10 years to see how we can improve the outcomes for a unit of one, which is that individual who is using your protocols. And how do we do that? Using technology, meaning obviously cutting edge science. We have, our team of scientists is larger than our team of engineers, but applying evidence from the best in science to a way to a unit of one, an individual, using all the markers that we can use to glean the best way to apply that, right? And the reason we are here today is to share some of the data with you all, but also to seek partnerships. I mean, we are very keen to take this to the market with partners, with providers, with other technology companies, with testing companies, with folks who have devices, but most importantly, to the end providers of the service itself. Yeah. So that's the backdrop to why we had a session yesterday, specifically for doctors. Yeah. Question is, why did it take 10 years? I think we get asked this question. Why did it take 10 years to finally release the version that we just released, our 8th generation of the platform? Because it's a complex problem. There's many steps we had to solve to make sure that the outcomes we want to deliver to the users are predictable enough, that the protocols that we are recommending can actually deliver the right results, and people are able to adhere and follow these things. So we had to build several subsystems, several learning through real-world pilots. We did pilots that lasted for months and some of them for years, and 7th, 8th generation of pilots, and that kind of was the basis of how we did each generation of our platform. And today we are in Gen 8 of the platform. We had to build tracking technologies. We had to build ways to sift through evidence and ways to look at applying genetic filters, ways to look at interactions with RX and nutrition supplements, look at effectiveness of different forms of exercise, sleep, et cetera, right? So the process took us a while, and today what we have is this. It is a simplified view of our platform, and I'm using the word simplified because there's a lot of systems here that I won't be able to put it on a single slide, but this is the best way to look at it. I think I have a marker. On this side, these are all the input data points that we get, and we get this from integrating with testing companies of various kinds, both in the US and in India, and we look at these currently as the main input data sets. And all of this is automated. I mean, the key for building a platform is that to make it efficient and easy to get the data, both cost efficient and scale efficient. So today we're able to get data sets from genetics, from wearable data. We work with most wearable, integrate with most wearable companies, with periodic lab tests, and then we apply that into an algorithm using a range of specific systems to look at how we do clinical evidence stratification. We have a system that does it, with rapidly growing list of clinical studies being added every week. We have a system that actually applies genetic filters. We have a product system that looks at products in the industry and how we qualify them. We have a drug interaction system and several other such systems. But the effect of all of that is to really deliver a user-facing protocol. We call it the precision protocols, which is a combination of these, which is a combination of the type of supplementations, sleep, managing stress, exercise, diet and fasting do's and don'ts, and other factors that are specific to that intervention, which when applied to a user unit of one, we can predictably guarantee improvements in their key biomarkers. And so this is kind of how the platform works. And it uses a lot of technology at the back end to both engage the user effectively, because user participation and engagement is the hardest problem. And I keep repeating this every time because user participation in a program like this is very difficult, and we've spent a lot of time ensuring that we work with the user 24/7 by 365 in the way we understand the context of what the user is doing. You finish a round of strength training, you need to do protein. If you have specifically taking a RX medication, you shouldn't take this supplement with it. I mean, there's several little details that go into the user's day-to-day life, and we work with them using a lot of sophisticated systems, and I'll share some of them in a minute with you, to deliver the results, right? So what are the data sets we look at? I spoke about genetics, and we look at, a resolution of about 650,000 data points there. We look at clinical studies we spoke about. We look at products in the market. We look at formulations. We look at drug classes for interactions, blood biomarkers. So this is all the data that is used to ensure that you're picking the right choices for the user, data from wearables, profile questionnaires, and then there's other subjective inputs. And all of this is used to deliver a protocol for lifestyle and micronutrient intervention, which gets to a lot of detail about exactly the types, the combinations, the dosages, the regimen, what to take, when to take, what to do, what kind of exercise, what is your sleep situation, what kind of fasting. All of that go into a very precise recommendation, and that's basically what the user gets. Now, the journey for the user we work with from the time you sign up, every single step from getting your test done to getting your reports results to interpreting that to actioning that to choice of what supplementation you should get, to be able to order those things, to receive those things from different manufacturers, to be able to start the journey, track everyday consumption. We use a lot of intelligent IoT technology that actually helps you track what you actually consume, critically important data without which you don't know what is actually happening with the user. You can make assumptions. Assumptions don't give you good learning algorithms. The rule number one of learning algorithms is that you need to have input data that's precise. If you do not have that, you can't get smarter. So we've been doing this closed loop learning systems. The most important piece here is about how do you get people to know what to do in an easy way, follow it, and be able to, at the right time, be able to nudge and engage them so they can continue to keep that path going. And so that is done through a combination of scoring methods where it weights every behavior based on what the impact of the behavior will be on your markers that you're trying to improve and allows you to do a gamified experience. And this has been working tremendously well. We've been getting very high levels of adherence and long-term usage. Most users stay on the program. Once you get past the initial 90 days, you stay for a very long term. And as you use the program, it gets better and more effective. So it's a program that makes it more sticky as you use it more. And some of the key elements that we do there, and this is not the whole list. I mean, we have several of our engineers and designers also in the group here. So everything from how you tell them what they exactly need to do, simple methods through which you check in, knowing how to then take that as an input source, but also use it to give you a scoring for good behavior, being able to do it on a daily basis and a weekly basis, and then most importantly, creating a network of validation among other users who are doing that. That piece is critically important. We found users bringing their family, their friends, their spouses, and that creates a really sticky, and we call it a blue zone. It is a virtual blue zone where you bring each other to make your health and longevity better. And this has been working very strongly, and we found some really good ways in which you use a scoring method combined with social validation and nudging. Right? So combination of this has been giving, so before I get into the results. So the way we offer this is in a very structured way. We start with what we call a foundation program. And this helps us really rectify all the foundational deficiencies and optimize the basic lifestyle issues that they need to fix first. I think we were just hearing earlier on that unless you fix those foundational things, you should not get into more deeper interventions. So we believe that very strongly. And once you do that, then we get into specific issues of health you have. We have therapy adjunct programs. We're working with doctors now to take this to their patients as well. We have a very specific disease risk scoring model. I'll share with you very quickly what kind of a scoring model we use, which is far more sophisticated than, I guess, the existing ones out there. And then we go into, only after you finish this, you go into peak performance and then healthy aging. So it's a kind of a layered process for users. Very quickly, and I have little time here, I want to tell you about scoring. Traditional, for example, looking at cardiovascular risk scores, the traditional scores factor in very few input parameters. And this is because of the fact that those used to be the parameters that are available at the time the scores were created. So today we have access to a lot more granular view of what is happening in the user's body, which highly and directly impact the risk. And many of these are modifiable risks. So, and of course, some of them are not, like genetics. So if you are able to take this and we use that to create a scoring method where we classify both non-modifiable risk and modifiable risk. And if you look at the sophistication of the model, it uses a lot more parameters that are today available for our users through our existing systems. And we use that to generate both the score, but also help them fix these parameters so you can actually reduce your modifiable risk in a measurable way. So there's measurable way to reduce your risk, and there's ways to do that today, right? Similarly, if you look at inflammation and cancer, again, we have a model for that. And I won't go into every one of them. This is a pretty sophisticated list, and it's got many, many subcategories under this. But I can just give you a quick sense how you look at the immune functions, the inflammation levels, and all of those, and how do you then bring it back into a modifiable risk reduction score. Similarly, for neurodegenerative, this is clearly this is only a preventive approach that can work for neurodegenerative today, because your dementia and Alzheimer's really don't have a treatment effectively yet. So we need to help people understand the risk and truly work on reducing the modifiable risks, right? So, okay, I'll do 1 minute. Yeah. So every step of the way, we look at safety. This is a central hallmark of how we implement the protocols. I mean, many of our scientists spoke yesterday at the doctors' event, so you could have heard a lot more detailed view on what we do and how we do it. So I wouldn't try and pretend I'm a scientist, but yesterday's session was for scientists to talk to our doctors, and we had all our key scientists share that data by case studies. So today I'm just going to go at some quick aggregate view of cohort level views. Things like inflammation biomarkers. I mean, these are significant improvements on the program, and that have far-reaching consequences in reducing your disease risk and improving your quality of life and longevity parameters. And I'm going to go through this in a kind of rapidly because I have 1 minute. So you look at the homocysteine levels. When these are gold standards, bringing people down under 10, HOMA-IR. What happens similarly? Improving HDL by 20%. I mean, things like, stuff that most cardiologists don't say it's possible to improve HDL by 20%. Most of them have told me it's 10% is the max you can improve HDL, but we can do better than that. And all this is within the first 6 months. So as users stay on the program for longer, you can see more improvements. Specific nutrient levels. We bring every user to optimal levels and keep them there, irrespective of their profile and ability to absorb, metabolize, excrete the nutrient differently because of the genetics and body type. So all of these are factors that go into why we're able to finally get the type of results. It clearly impacts their well-being. We've seen it increase their exercise. We've seen it improve the quality of sleep, and massive increase in quality of life, right? It also impacted the longevity markers. As a result of it, you can see several of the longevity markers getting improved. You understand factors like improving RHR, how it impacts your all-cause mortality. And there are users who specifically improved markers around people with RA and specific conditions. I mean, we have even endorsements from doctors, from their existing doctors, asking them to stay on the program.
Rajesh, I have a question for you.
Yes, I'm going to pause.
I want to know how many people got onto this program, what percentage actually lost the weight, the numbers,
Yeah.
and if they did at the end of the program, what's the long-term effect? Say, and at the end of year, are they the same? At the end of 2 years, are they the same? Any data on that?
Yeah, so great question. Firstly, I think the approach we take to improvement of the BMI is a holistic approach, and that has been a lot more sustainable. And our users have stayed on average, so because the program itself is now available outside pilots for the last 2 years. So we have about 10% churn, if you really want to look at it from that point of view. That is considered exceptionally high in the industry.
Any questions from the floor, please? Yes.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I want to know how many times or how many minutes in total does the end user spend on this app daily, weekly, or monthly? That's question number one.
Great.
And two, what is the approximate cost in dollars for the end user?
So let me take the first one, the second one first. It's in India, it's like about 3,500 rupees a month, 3,500 a month. I mean, that's how can you do it at these price points? Because of automation and software. Otherwise, it's impossible to offer these at those price points. Our goal is to get it across to a large number of users, and that's why we're working with doctors and others to take it. Your first question is how much time you spend on the app, right?
How much time do you spend?
We we would like users not to spend much time on the app. So our goal is not to get you to do more things on the app. Most things are automated, most things work in the background, and so we try to make it automated as far as possible, and they don't need to do a lot. So even 5 to 10 minutes in a day is all it takes for you to get a sense where you stand and check in a few things. And you also get certain notifications and things from your friends and others. And so it's not a high engagement, high time consuming. It's by design, right?
Any more questions?
It was interesting to know about this. So, my question is, how do you track that users are following whatever you have recommended?
That is the heart of our platform. Is we call it a track, measure, improve program. We track wearable data coming in, which is automatic. We have some technology for tracking supplement consumption, which is an IoT technology. We use that for that. We also have some simple user check-ins. There are certain things that you can take a picture of. But there are different little methods we've used. And there's certain auto check-in models as well. So we use a combination of that to get everyday status of the user. And if the user is falling off on any specific things, automatically we get engage the user to ensure they're coming back on track. So tracking is a critical central part of what we do.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you very much for that interesting talk.